Hey everybody, this is herculespetix, founder, curator, docent, and gift shop employee of the herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies. Today, we're going to be looking at American Flagg, number 19 through 22, continuing our examination of probably we'll do all the Howard Chaykin American Flaggs. Not positive, but once again, Howard Chaykin, writing, penciling, and inking. And this is the story arc, Bullets and Ballots. So let's check this shit out. Nice cover here. Strange Bedfellows. We see a little tribute to Edward Hopper. And, God, how many times has this thing been homaged? So it's an Italian restaurant. Pizza place named Fabrizio's, and Cyril Farad Khan used to be a go-ganger. In the past 2 story arcs, he's become a video ranger, kind of like a vigilante. Supposedly one of the good guys, but nah, he's slipping back into his own old ways. So he's taken over the protection racket. There's this guy named Little Gregorio from like the Brazilian mafia, who's been getting their protection, and Cyril's taken over. He's saying, you're paying us now. And this poor guy, Fabrizio's just like, fine, fuck. You know, he's getting screwed either way. Meanwhile, we see on the TV that the mayoral election is still underway. There's about like 10 people trying to be mayor. We see Ruben and Mandy Krieger are having sex. And she's being really laying it on a little thick because she wants something from Ruben. I like this how Ken Brzezinek does these like fun letter things. Oh, Ruben, I never knew it could be like this. And it's like a heart with an arrow through it. And then he says, come on, Mandy, what's the act all about? And she says, whatever do you mean? And the word balloon's like a question mark with a heart. So it almost like you can hear her voice being like, whatever do you mean? Like all lovey-dovey. I like when letters do shit like that. Well, pretty much such a Dave Sim does all the time. And, you know, she even admitted this in the last story arc. She's like, yeah, I'm going to butter him up because she needs Ruben's endorsement. Ruben has a lot of pull with the public because she's running for mayor, of course. And here she is. I can't imagine what you're talking about. And there's a little bird tweeting on the letter balloon. I don't know if he ever did that again or before this. I'm pretty sure he's never done it before, but really interesting. Ken Brzezinek trying out something new. Then all of a sudden there's a ruckus. Some riots breaking out. It's actually at the QUSA studios, the pirate video station that Ruben owns. It's on TV, so he runs off. Nice splash page. That is some fun action posing. So we see a nice fun action scene. Ken Brzezinek just going nuts with the lettering. Boom, kapow, bang, just the sound effects. It's like a wall of sound effects. And Luther Ironheart's there, of course. Ruben's perennial backup. And this little punk guy takes advantage of the ruckus at QUSA and steals a videotape. He sees a videotape and he grabs it. It's kind of crazy the way he draws this window crashing. Well, I guess it's the shelf with all the videos, but it almost looks like abstract art. Kind of neat. So this dumb punk runs right into Cyril and his video rangers. So they're like looting, huh? Because they're like self-styled vigilantes. So they take the tape and they drag the guy to the mall jail. Once again, really nice colors by Leslie Zoller. Just such rich colors in this. So Ruben kind of dresses down Cyril. And he's just like, you know, I didn't detox you guys just so you could strut around like peacocks. So we see we're in Chicago, and this building's been firebombed. And I like this, the Plex Fire Department. It's kind of a variation on the Plex logo, but it's a little flames instead of stars. And definitely foul play's gone on. The 6 bodies that they actually find that aren't burnt to a crisp, all of them were castrated and their throats were cut. So it turns out that this was the headquarters of little Gregorio, the Brazilian mafia guy. And somebody's taking him out and all of his gang. And there's this little, like, weaselly guy. He's kind of like an informant. Some underworld kind of scumbag. And Medea pays him off to get some information. And he says the word is that Cyril has been moving in on the mob action, selling insurance to little Gregorio's clients. And he says, yeah, Cyril probably didn't have anything to do with this, though. Most likely, it's this guy from Kansas City or St. Louis who just blew in a town. His name's Staggerly de Lyons. And now we see Staggerly de Lyons headquarters. Staggerly de Lyons is almost like this pimp mob boss. All of his soldiers are these women who walk around, always blonde, who walk around in lingerie. So he obviously has a type. It's kind of ridiculous that all these women would wear high heels and garter belts. And even when they're doing, jobs for him, doing their work, they're constantly dressed like this. But, that's what Howard Chaykin likes. That was his shtick in American Flagg. So we see this character, Angel Hollywood. She's just getting back from blowing up that place. Taking care of little Gregorio. And when she goes into, the main office, Staggerly is auditioning 2 new, recruits. This guy's just like a total pimp. And Angel kicks their asses out of there. And of course she's all jealous. But he's like a pimp. He talks her down like, oh, come on, baby. You're my truest and dearest love. And she falls for it. That's Staggerly de Lyons, by the way. I thought that was obvious, but I guess I didn't quite say it. So then there's a new visitor to Chicago, all the way from Texas, from Dallas-Fort Worth. This ranger named Bullets Cisco, or Kisco. And her husband was killed by this guy years ago in Texas. And the guy just escaped from jail. The guy that killed her husband. She put him away. And this was a while ago. Now he's escaped and she's on his trail. It's kind of a personal mission. And I guess C.K. Blitz knows her. They're old friends. I guess they were in Ranger Academy together. So C.K. points her to Ruben's direction. She's got to check in with the Ranger in Chief. Meanwhile, Ruben's hanging out with Mandy. And she basically flat out blackmails Ruben. She's the only one that knows that the evidence that Ruben supposedly has on the Plex attempted sale of Illinois, that was like from 3 story arcs back. It fell in the river. He doesn't actually own it. He's bluffing. And she says she's going to tell the Plex that you've got, he's got nothing on you. No proof. Hard evidence. And if, I'll do this if you don't endorse me. And Ruben just says, Ruben doesn't like getting pushed around. He just says, all you'll get from me is neutrality. He's like, I don't give a flying fuck. You do what you have to do. And Mandy gets pissed off, throws a drink in his face. So Ruben meets Kisco. And of course, she starts flirting with him immediately, like every woman in American Flagg does. So the guy who busted out of jail, who killed her husband, is named Roy Magruder. And it turns out she's in Chicago because his brother is he runs a South Side militia in Chicago, Ross Magruder. So she thinks he might know where he is. So now Medea goes to talk to Cyril for old time's sake. And Cyril's trying to get back with her. And Medea's having none of it. Medea's so different than she used to be just 12 issues ago. Or 20 issues ago. So basically she's giving him a friendly warning for old time's sake. She's saying, I could bust you right now for extortion and racketeering. But I'm just going to give you a warning. If I hear of any of you guys selling protection anymore, you're done. So Cyril's boys come in, he's all beat up. And they're like, hey guys, check this out. What are the video rangers? You know that videotape we got from that little punk guy? You're not going to believe what's on it. And Cyril says, boys, I think we just left the small time behind. To be continued. That's a pretty engaging cliffhanger here. So here we have the first of a 2-parter backup story. Mark Thrust, Sexist Ranger. So this is telling some of the plots of the episodes of Ruben Flagg's old TV show. It's written by Elliot S. Maggin, long-time, old-timey DC writer. Kind of weird that they got him to write this. Judith Hunt penciler. She used to do that tough nun comic, that kick-ass nun comic Evangeline. She did some other stuff. And look, Larry Stroman, inker. Years before Image, and he became a hot shit artist during the whole boom period, the 90s boom. We do finally get an answer to why when Ruben lands in Chicago in the first issue, he's already a pretty kick-ass dude, even though he was supposedly just an actor his whole life. Because I guess the show, Mark Thrust, made him go through Ranger training. Because they wanted to, be real. They wanted him to do well in his role. We get a little history of Ruben Flagg, showing him when he was a young comedian. I guess he wasn't very good. But then he got hired for Mark Thrust and became an instant celebrity. So this is almost like getting a cartoon version of a Ruben Flagg adventure. Because it's Mark Thrust was a Plexus Ranger, but it's, it's just even more full of sex and goofiness. Mark Thrust is pacifying this riot crowd. This placard says, Woody Allen was right. Nietzsche is peachy. Nihilists unite. Just a ridiculous political protest. So Mark Thrust is, he's got to go guard the president. Just be one of the security guards at It's kind of like a big fundraising gala, but it's a happy birthday thing for the president. This is the president, President Steinway. And there's this like celebrity singer, Bernardo O'Toole. I guess he's the big sex symbol in the future. If you're old like me, like he would be like Tom Jones or something. So there's an assassin in the crowd. And, but he kills Bernardo O'Toole. Everyone thinks, he's going for the president. He kills Bernardo O'Toole. The president's just pissed off because her evening's entertainment has been ruined. Because basically that was going to be her birthday present. She was going to get with Bernardo O'Toole. So the assassin takes some strychnine, so they don't have any answers. They don't know what's going on. But the president, all she cares about is like, you're going to be my entertainment. You're coming with me. So Mark Thrust has to sleep with her. And there's some kind of computer virus, which they don't know what the connection is. Not very well written. Elliot S. Maggin, never really wrote a good comic, I don't think, in his life. He was more like an editor type of DC. And whatever. And that Judith Hunt art. Ooh. Well, we'll see the second chapter. I'll talk about it more then. Once again, look at these crazy deep colors from Leslie Zoller. God, Chaykin knows how to design a cover. Chaykin loves all those great illustrators from the 20s, 30s, 40s, the paperback cover artists. He studied that shit. So it's soaked into his brain. So we see some news bringing us up to date. The mayoral race, the leads are CK and Mandy, and it's a very mudslinging, bitter contest. So Kisco and Ruben are flying around. They're trying to find that brother, Ross Magruder, the brother of the Roy Magruder who killed her husband. And then we cut away to this big party. It's like Stag Ali is hosting it. And basically he has all the mob bosses. And he's basically just, all of his ladies are the entertainment. So all these guys are getting down like, great party. Bullets and Ballots, Chapter 2. So here he is, Ross Magruder. We realize pretty quickly this guy's got no juice. He's a very low-level, poly club leader. He's kind of a schlub. And he's like, why was I invited to this party with all these bigwigs? I don't even get it. Why am I here? And then all the girls, the entertainment, take out machine guns and just massacre all the mob chiefs. Meanwhile, we see like a kind of a charity event between the mayoral candidates. They're playing this, it's called Go Polo, where it's polo on motorcycles. And, even though Mandy kind of hates CK sometimes, his motorcycle runs into one of the video camera robots. It looks like it explodes. And Mandy kind of saves his neck and grabs him. But she gets the winning score. So Mandy's basically she's a decent person, even though she's been corrupted a little by this power thing. And then when Mandy and CK get back to their lockers, to their respective suites, somebody left a little envelope for both of them with some photos in it. And they're both just like, go. Man, I wish Howard Chaykin could still draw like this. Kind of gave up trying to draw nicely. I still like his comics. Still a great storyteller. But man, he doesn't really illustrate that well anymore. We see Raul the cat has his own talk show now. He's talking to Ernesto de la Cristo, who's now the head of the Brazilian Union of Americas, or at least the corporation that runs it. And he's now married to Desiree Deutschmarks. And Raul's he's not letting him off easy. So we see the head of the Weathermen. I'm sorry. Now he's in charge of QUSA, running it for Ruben. And he noticed a videotape from Hilton Krieger. Mandy's dead father is missing. He did the inventory, and that's what that videotape is, obviously. So we find out Cyril's the one who sent those photos, obviously. He's going to let him sweat a while before, issuing demands. He just figures whichever one wins, he'll have an ally. He's got dirt on. Sorry I keep harping on this, but why couldn't Marvel and DC do this shit on newsprint paper? Look how solid and nice those colors are. So on the way to doing their job, Kisco's like, oh, wait, we have to make a little pit stop. Of course, so they could land on some antenna tower, floating antenna, so they could fuck. Because, like I said, every woman has to fuck Ruben Flagg if she needs him. I like how she's just kind of like, that was pretty nice. She's like, what? That's it? She's like, hey, I've been around the block a few times, buddy. So then we see Ross Magruder's wife and his kids. They look like a pair of work. They look like a bunch of hillbilly morons. No offense to hillbillies, but sorry. I guess there's no way getting around it. That was offensive, sorry. So Ruben and Kisco break in. Beat the crap out of everyone. Man, I love when just these little panels, the big, like Chicken's so good at that, just the big climax of the fight, the knockout punch. No panel borders, it just really pops. So they talk to one of the sons, and he spills the beans, tells him the whole thing about how his dad was invited to this party. And they haven't seen him. So now the Staggerlee's ladies are returning from this job now. And Staggerlee's wised up. He now has someone on the lookout. So he can kick someone out of his bed if Angel's coming home. He doesn't want to make waves with her anymore. So Staggerlee knows that somebody's muscling in on Gregorio's old protection business. He's like, that's my protection business. I killed the guy. He says, when I find out who it is, heads will roll. And we see the Video Rangers clubhouse. Part 2 of Mark Thrust, Sexist Ranger, Birthday Bullets. Yeah, I was going to say this Judith Hunt. Just such fanzine level artwork. I don't know if Larry Stroman is helping or hindering at this point. He was probably really young. Because this is 85. So this is years before, he became an artist on X-Force, during that whole Liefeld Lee era in Marvel, 88, 89. So I guess I think the assassin has this weird a tooth on him. During the autopsy, they find this microprocessor. Sorry, it is Bernardo O'Toole. He had this microprocessor in his tooth. Ugh. This is so bad. I gotta be honest, I really don't even care. I already forgot. I read this last night. And I just don't even want to look at these pages. This is so gross to me. I remember seeing like covers of Evangeline. I've never read an issue, but it was kind of considered like a hot title back in the black and white boom. And I remember her being kind of okay. For someone during the black and white boom. And I don't think we could blame Larry Sturman. I mean, fundamentally, the figures are just bad in this. Wow. It's really bad stuff. I don't know whatever happened to Judith Hunt. So sorry, I didn't even really tell you the plot. I just don't even care. I think I even lingered too long on looking at the art. I should have just skipped past that. Okay, now we have Red Tape and Blackmail. Chapter 3 of Bullets and Ballots. Cool looking cover, Ruben looking cool, Raoul even looking kind of tough and cool. I love when Raoul looks tough. It cracks me up. Oh, here we have a little cameo of Jules. And we haven't seen him in a lot of issues. I miss him. He's a great character. And I guess his book is just coming out. His commercial says, buy my book or I'll come over to your house and beat the crap out of you. And he got Raoul to beat it with a little mohawk, just like Jules. Oh, that's funny. So once again, we're brought up to snuff by the news, the official news, state-sponsored news. So Medea and Luther trying to figure out what the hell's going on, talking to Raoul. And while Ruben and Kisko were flying around, there's a firefight in Chicago. So they somnambutal, most of them, knock them out. Mau Mau. Papa Papa Mau Mau. And they make a dramatic entrance. Ruben's a very violent man. So they break into this place where the headhunters are. I don't know if you guys remember, the headhunters are like the worst go gang. They're cannibals. They're most other go gangs are scared of them. And they break into the main room. This is that place where the big sex party was. I think the headhunters were there just as they saw all these dead bodies and they were going to eat them. This is very interesting. I don't understand why all of a sudden Howard Chaykin does this weird effect. He's never done anything like this. It's kind of neat. There's this abstract little design radiating from his hand holding the gun. Really different. There's a couple of things in this. Howard Chaykin every now and then tries a goofy new thing. And I I don't know if that works. It's not like, whoa, he's invented this great new comic technique. It just looks kind of cool. So they break into the party. They see all the dead mob bosses that the Staggerly's women killed. And he's talking to the local militia guy, Plex. What is it? Is it the militia? Whatever. They're almost like they're in charge of the city, their jurisdiction. You know, Rubens Plex Rangers are in charge of the mall in the suburbs. So they're kind of arguing about jurisdiction. The guy in charge of Chicago, he's just like, dude, we're not going to rush. This is great. We hope this continues. All these mob bosses are getting killed. So they're not taking it very seriously. Now we go back to Staggerly's headquarters. They've got Ross Magruder there. They've kidnapped him. And he tells his angels, he says, go down to Fabrizio. Tell him, no, you're paying us. You're not paying Cyril. So this poor guy, Fabrizio, he's paying his money every week. And then every week he's got some other guy saying, no, you got to give us money, not that guy. And he can't do anything about it. So we really find out what a dork Ross is. And he's just like, I got no money. Are you interested in blackmailing me? By telling my wife, are you interested in ransom? I got no money, trust me. And he's like, no, I don't want any of that. I just want a reunion. And he's like, gulp. So we'll find out soon what's up with that. Because as far as we know, those guys shouldn't know each other. So I guess Cyril sends his demands to Mandy and CK. And they're commiserating about it. Like, oh shit, we're both fucked. Nobody's gonna vote for us now. And look at this flashback. So I guess when Mandy went to her first prom, you know, she's like 18, maybe 17. And CK was the chaperone. And it's weird because she's his stepdaughter now, right? And I guess they hooked up. He was consoling her. And it was just one of those things. They looked into each other's eyes and fucked. And I guess Hilton Krieger, her father, I just had video cameras everywhere because he ran the pirate TV station. He was always hoping to get some juicy stuff and also stuff to blackmail people with. So he happened to have a camera and he videotaped the whole thing, which is kind of creepy that he had this videotape of his daughter fucking his best friend for years. I'm sorry, ex-best friend. So that's even weirder. That he wouldn't go out and beat the shit out of CK. We have a little discussion about varying pizzas. Pizza Rustica versus Chicago Deep Dish. And even mentions Fabrizio's Pizza. And we cut away to Fabrizio's Pizza. And of course, Staggerly's ladies are, you know, roughing him up. He says, Cyril will kill me. And she's like, we're going to do something worse. And they're going to give him a hot oil enema. Because he's not going to, they want to know who is strong-arming him. They don't know who Cyril is yet. So he tells them, obviously, he doesn't want that enema. So Cyril makes his demands. He wants $150K from both CK and Mandy. And Mandy's like, fuck this shit. I'm taking that guy out. I'm going to murder him. I'm not paying shit. He's just going to have that over our heads forever. So Kisco is looking at the morgue pictures from the massacre. And Raul's chatting with her, and all of a sudden she sees something, and she's like, Jesus H. Christ, gotta go. Tell Ruben I'll call him later. So we have a little foreshadowing here. Crystal says something like she's heard through the buzz line, or I can't even think of that word, through the grapevine, that Ruben's going to be sent over to the UK. There's been a ceasefire in the Irish Communist Britain War. And the Brazilian Union of Americas wants to send Ruben over, and she's going to fly him. So I have a feeling that's next issue's story arc, or next story arc. So we see Kisco. Oh, God. I got to shut up about these colors. Sorry. I'm like a fucking magpie. Ooh, pretty colors. So she goes to White Trash, that's Stagger Lee's club. This one of the guards. She's like, she lies and says, I'm looking for a job. And the guards are like, you're 25 years too old. And she smacks her. And Stagger Lee and Angel are watching it on the video monitor. And they're, blaming one of the girls. It's like, you brought him right to our door. And he just kills her. Stagger Lee's pretty fucking cold. So, Kisco puts on that kind of, bustier thing and makes her way into the place. She finds Ross, the captive. She's like, where's your brother? And Stagger Lee comes up behind her, and Ross knocks her out. So, what the hell? And then he says, black out the monitor on this room. He says, I want some privacy. I'm going to have a little party with the knocked out Kisco. It doesn't look good. Oh, this is really interesting. So the new backup series is written by, at the time, a pretty big writer, but not what he became. They got Alan Moore to write the backup. This is going to go for a lot of issues. And in typical Alan Moore fashion, it's just amazing, like, storytelling. And we see this guy on the phone, and someone's trying to break into his office. He's got it barricaded. And the guy he's talking to, he's like, listen, that product, whatever, things are not going that good. Let me start at the beginning. So basically it's like this guy who, this advertising guy. I'm sorry, he's a programming guy for the Plex. And they're going to show Mark Thrust reruns. And this guy says, I want to buy a commercial. Or I want you to move my commercial that we bought. We don't want it in the second slot. Nobody's going to be watching by then. Nobody gives a shit about Mark Thrust. It's because, it's reruns. It's this old show. Everyone's probably seen already. We see a scene from Mark Thrust. I guess the second act in the TV show always has like a sex scene leading into the second commercial slot. It's called the hot slot. Oh, sorry. Let's look at the credits here. So Alan Moore writing. I almost forgot about this. This is amazing. This is a year before Watchmen or more. I mean, he was hot shit from Swamp Thing. But, after Watchmen, he wouldn't do little goofy stuff like this anymore. Penciled by Larry Stroman. Inked by Don Lomax. So Don Lomax, he did a lot of, porn comics. He really liked drawing huge-breasted women. But he also was mainly known for Vietnam Journal, which was a black and white comic of the time. That was just Tales of Vietnam. I think he might have been a vet. And I always kind of wanted to read that comic because it just seemed like true, gritty Tales of Vietnam. It wasn't like genre-fied or anything. Almost like the comic The Nom that Marvel did. I don't know which one was first, though. So, the Mark Thrust has a ridiculous sex scene. And then it goes right into this detergent commercial. And somehow, the fact that it kind of linked to what the sex scene, subliminally, everyone wants to buy this product. The sales go through the roof. The next night, the same thing happens. This woman, it looks like this dominatrix chick is kind of going to do a golden shower on Ruben. And then the commercial starts with just water streaming. So it sells even more. Meanwhile, we keep flashing forward to the present. And this guy's still trying to get in. Whoever he is. So this guy, his name is Max. This TV programmer, executive. And he has a bodyguard here. I can't remember his name. Oh, Roy. And Roy's like really friendly and really like seems pally with his boss. So weird things start happening across the city. All these people are losing their inhibitions. It's almost like a infection of sensuality. Roy asks him, have you ever read the poetry of Rimbaud? So another scene from Mark Thrust where this woman is going down on Ruben. I'm sorry, Mark. And then it's the hot slot was bought out for like 10 times the amount because they saw the results for this woman eating this, phallic looking piece of food. That's pretty nice. Well, it's kind of weird, the inking, but I kind of like that hair. It's definitely got man hours put in there. But it's a little much. It almost looks like she has 5 o'clock shadow. And, we flash forward to the guy telling the story on the phone. And the person outside is breaking in. Is getting through the door, the barricade. And he finally, you look out the window and it's a full-on, like a plague. A fucking plague. Everyone's going nuts. And he's telling the story and he's just like, I'm not being hysterical. There's a 7-foot-tall tumescent Samoan trying to beat down my office door who just came out of the closet half an hour ago. And he's coming for me. So Roy comes in and he's just like, he says, now, Max, my friend, I show to you the love of tigers. And the guy says, okay, Roy, you asked for this. And his gun clicks. It's empty. So, and it says romance was everywhere. But it looks like this romance is going to be so much fun for Max. Wow. Fucking Alan Moore. The last chapter, blackmail and white trash. Nice cover. So Mandy's convinced CK to go with her on her, assassination of Cyril. So we find out some information about Roy Magruder, how when he escaped, he bought a lot of holovid and equipment, electronic sedation equipment, and mass quantities of oral aphrodisiacs. So as we saw last issue, Kisko was knocked on the head. And she's kind of semi-conscious, and they're taking her somewhere. Staggerly's ladies. But Kisko, with her little bit of consciousness, she jumps out the car right off a bridge. Meanwhile, right as they're hitting Cyril, he's riding his motorcycle and they're killing him. So CK backs out. CK's like, I'm not gonna fucking kill this Cyril. This is not who I am. So Stagger Lee says, I need to talk to Angel alone. Everyone get out of here. And they're fooling around. And so I guess Mandy went back to Ruben and told him everything she knows. And she's like, I need you to help me. We got to get this videotape back from Cyril. She sees a bunch of the video rangers are dead on the floor. And then in the next room, all the TVs are transmitting the sex tape. It got out there, and it's being transmitted all through the Plex system. And Mandy freaks out and starts shooting and kicking all the TVs. So now everyone knows. Ruben's calling Raul to tell him to do some kind of electronic shenanigans. Once again, this neat, cool little abstract art. It's supposed to represent some kind of computer thing, but it just looks like a nice design. Look at this. You can tell Ken Brzezinski used to be Steranko's assistant. A little op art pattern there. I don't think we've ever seen anything like that in American Flagg. So now we're back with Stagger Lee and Angel, and of course, their hostage Ross. So we find out on the TV about Kisco. I guess she's okay. She was in the critical condition. They fished her out of the river. It looks like she's going to be okay. So Ruben and Mandy storm Stagger Lee's compound. And Angel's basically like, they're here, the jig is up. And Stagger Lee's like, yeah, maybe I'll go back to Kansas City. But not without the video. I'm sorry, I should have mentioned. The video rangers were all dead because he went and got the sex tape. Figures it'll be some kind of insurance, which I don't really get because it's already been transmitted all over, so I don't see the value. Some nice action as Ruben and Mandy fight their way to the boardroom, the main room. So they find Russ, smack him around, and they're like, where is he? Where's Roy? Your brother. He's like, he's on the roof. He's going up to the roof with Angel. So they're going up there, and Angel's kind of giving him shit. She's like, what is he to you, this guy? What was your homeboy lover in lockup? She says something much more offensive. I didn't want to repeat it. So they got one of those little sky cycles. They stole Kisco's sky cycle or whatever they're called again. Hover, I can't remember. Skycopter that the Plex use. And it's too heavy because they got all this money they're trying to escape with, all this video equipment. So he kicks her off. She's like, you son of a bitch. This guy's just a total scumbag. and he shoots back at Ruben, because Ruben just breaks out onto the roof then, Ruben and Mandy. And he shoots back and totally kills Stagger Lee. And then this is weird. I had to read this twice. I was like, what the hell's going on here? So all of a sudden you hear fizzle, pop, sizzit. And Stagger Lee, in his death throes, goes back and forth between being Stagger Lee and this white guy who's looks a lot like Ross Magruder. And it's Roy Magruder. And I'll tell you in a second what the hell's going on here. So we see Kisco recovering in the hospital. And she tells the news reporter that she's like, yeah, I guess I'm not as young as I used to be. I got to retire. I'm kind of bummed about that because I really love that she's this old, grizzled ranger. Usually that's like the Tommy Lee Jones role. It's always some dude. But I love the idea of having the grizzled old veteran be this kick-ass woman. And, but she's done. She's retiring. He draws her hair very oddly. It's a very weird technique if you look closely at it. Just like a bunch of scribbles. I think he's trying to duplicate like a kind of frizzy, curly hair. She tells the reporter that she's retiring from the Rangers and is going to take over the Love Canal and be the new madam, which is very odd. So we find out what happened is, I guess, Stagger Lee, you know, who's really Roy Magruder, he used that stolen video tech to make himself look black. I guess he couldn't get it up unless he played this, I guess he was blackface. And he got all those aphrodisiacs too, so he could be a super pimp lover and probably make all these women love him back, or at least want to fuck him back. It's such a weird plot twist, so crazy. So that's what we find out, though. Who done it, or how done it. And then we cut away to the news, and it's the results of the election. Apparently that sex tape was very damaging to CK and Mandy. The people have spoken. And even though it's the fastest selling porn video, somebody made an official video, added some music. People don't want to see them in the mayor's office. So apparently there was a write-in candidate. There was no option that Chicago wanted. And the write-in candidate is Raul. Oh, I can't wait till next issue. I know I say this every issue, but I love Raul. They're not a very well-drawn Raul. It looks like this last page he had a rush to get to the printer. So that's it for Bullets and Ballots. So now we're back to the Alan Moore backup. Luther Ironheart in Machineries of Joy. And we see this guy, this businessman, he's got all these sex bots. Maybe they're just like those real-life sex dolls, you know, that they have in Japan. And Luther's undercover. Luther's infiltrated. They just think it's a misorder. They're like, what's up with this robot with no head? We gotta call the distributor, try to get a discount. They've kind of fucked up the order. So Luther's sneaking around, reporting back to Raul. Not that it matters, but I guess this all takes place in Kansas, this whole sex plague thing. And Raul and Luther have been sent there to see what's going on. It seems like Raul's just chilling in the hotel room the whole time, watching TV and getting room service. And Luther's doing all the work. So it turns out there's this this guy they call Daddy Fleshbucks. I guess he's like the king of porn in this area. And he notices that this sex plague's going on, so he has all the sex toys and sex bots, and he's going to make a killing. In fact, he's going to increase it. He's going to pump pheromones in the air, set up more subliminals in the TV show, aphrodisiac music in the malls and the hypermarts. Meanwhile, I think this is his girlfriend. The dog is just attacking her, trying to get at her. Because everyone's horny, even dogs. They all wear Walkman headphones to, because the signal is just pumping through the air, this signal of sex. So they're okay. Because they got these Walkmans on. Here we see the dog chewing on her panties. He's ripped them off. This is some crazy, naughty stuff. So Luther, he's left alone with all these sex bots. Oh, I guess they are actual robots. And he reprograms them. He says, when you're activated, you'll be able to follow your own conscience and not some smutty, subversive scenario from Stalingrad. Because he's convinced that this is some red plot. Luther always thinks there's a red plot, a communist plot. It's kind of in his program to be this all-American jingo, commie-hating ranger. So these bad guys, I guess, they can turn off Luther. They got like a robot deactivator. It's kind of a weird effect of Luther's hologram dissipating. And this bigwig. Let me see what happens here. There's so much interesting ideas in this. Oh, so they give Luther a robot to this guy. And his assistant says, we've reprogrammed it, and it doesn't need working parts to make money. It's big and tough, and many people pay to get beaten up. So they figure he'll be a different kind of sex bot, like kind of a S&M robot. Perfect rough trade. And he says, good thinking, son. And this guy is left all alone with the robot. And he says, do you do Shirley Temple? And, oh God, this is so perverse for some reason. Little Shirley Temple head pops up on Luther and singing on the good ship Lollipop. And this guy starts sweating. He's like, oh my God, listen, Shirley, I've been a naughty boy. So guys, I'm so sorry because I got to do one American Flagg story arc at a time. I don't want these videos to be 3 hours long. So until next time, which should be, I don't know, 2 weeks or so, you're going to have to be a cliffhanger on that Alan Moore story. But believe me, I'm just as excited to read it as you are to see it. I'm on pins and needles myself. I'm kind of bummed because I have to wait to read it. So there you have it. American Flags number 19 through 22. Bullets and Ballads story arc. Another great story arc in the American Flagg epic. So I hope you liked it. And I hope you come back next time here to the herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies.